Hey warriors, welcome back to the channel. I watched my closest friend completely destroy himself trying to be the good guy. He gave everything he had, forgave every betrayal, sacrificed his own peace for people who barely even acknowledged his existence. 3 years later, I ran into him again. He wasn't shattered anymore, he was ruthless, and he dropped a line on me that hit harder than anything else. He said, "The world didn't change. I did. I stopped being easy to break." That sentence burned into my brain because I realized in that moment it wasn't just his story, it was mine. And it's yours too. Right now there are two versions of you fighting for control. Version 1 is the one that explains every feeling, apologizes for having boundaries, tolerates endless disrespect, and keeps hoping people will finally change. You bend over backwards just to be understood, to be respected, to be loved. But the more you give, the less they value what you're offering. Then there's version 2, the silent one, the certain one, the one who doesn't argue, doesn't beg, doesn't chase anything that's walking away. They simply remove themselves without noise, without drama, without guilt. You've been stuck living as version 1 for far too long, and it's slowly killing your power. It's made you soft where you needed to be sharp, endlessly kind where you needed to be coldly calculated. Machiavelli once wrote, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." And he wasn't promoting cruelty, he was revealing the raw truth about control, about knowing exactly when to stop being the person who breaks for others. Today, I'm going to show you how to fully awaken version 2, the ruthless version of you, the one Machiavelli described, the one people sense from across the room but can never truly manipulate. There are 8 critical shifts that separate these two versions of yourself. Each one will require you to sacrifice a piece of your old identity. Each one will feel like you're burning away everything that used to define you. But if you stay with me until the end, you'll walk away unrecognizable from the person you were yesterday. You'll stop begging for peace from others and start creating it from deep within yourself. You'll discover the raw power of becoming truly untouchable, because this world will break you over and over unless you learn to become ruthless first. And before we dive in, I want you to drop this in the comments. I will not break again. Number 1, stop giving yourself to the ungrateful. The very first step toward true ruthlessness begins the moment you finally accept this hard truth. Your greatest weakness was never your open heart. It was who you kept giving it to. You've been pouring endless energy into people who drain your light but never once reflected back. You kept helping without limits, forgiving without conditions, explaining without end, always hoping that someday they'd finally recognize your real worth. But they never do. And here's why. In the raw psychology of power, anything freely given without cost is automatically devalued in the subconscious mind. People instinctively link easy generosity with desperation. They assume if you give so freely, it's because you're starving for their approval. And the second someone detects that need, they gain control over you. That's exactly how real weakness is created. Not through failure, but through emotional dependence masked as endless kindness. Machiavelli once said, "Men are quicker to offend one who is loved than one who is feared." The ungrateful exploit your goodness precisely because they feel no fear of losing it. They know you'll stay no matter what. They know you'll forgive every slight. They know that regardless of how poorly they treat you, you'll make excuses for them, telling yourself they're just stressed or going through something. That's not true compassion. That's dangerous self-deception. The brutal reality is that people remember pain far more vividly than kindness. They respect clear consequences far more than endless explanations. The more predictable your forgiveness becomes, the more invisible your presence grows. Every single time you tolerated clear disrespect, you trained them to view you as completely disposable. Every time you desperately explained your worth, you confirmed in their minds that you had to fight to prove it. That's the hidden psychology behind why the genuinely good people get crushed first. The world doesn't destroy you because you're kind. It destroys you because you confuse kindness with being completely harmless. The ungrateful are essentially predators wearing human faces. They don't attack your body. They feed on your guilt. They weaponize your empathy and turn it against you. So stop believing you owe anyone your unwavering loyalty simply because you once cared deeply. Your care is an exclusive privilege, not an automatic right. Reserve it strictly for those who've proven consistent respect through their actions. Everyone else should experience the cold sharpness of your complete absence. Detachment becomes your unbreakable shield. Indifference becomes your most elegant revenge. Machiavelli understood this on a profound level when he said, "Men are ungrateful, fickle, false, cowardly, and covetous." He was directly warning you, never hand real power to the ungrateful because they'll inevitably use it to weaken and control you. You must completely unlearn the dangerous belief that being endlessly good will somehow protect you. Goodness, without firm boundaries, is nothing less than a slow death sentence. Ruthlessness isn't cruelty, it's necessary correction. It's the decisive moment you stop rewarding betrayal with continued access. When you finally stop answering every message, stop forgiving every deception, stop explaining your growing distance, the ungrateful begin to panic. They suddenly realize they can no longer feed off your emotional reactions. That's the exact moment true power shifts back to you. You become the one who coldly decides who receives your precious attention and who fades into complete irrelevance. The world ultimately belongs to those who guard their energy like a deadly weapon, not those who scatter it like meaningless wishes. Every drop of strength you waste on the wrong people is power permanently stolen from your own future. Withdraw it completely, hoard it fiercely, rebuild it deliberately. Let them wonder whatever happened to your former warmth. Let them realize it froze solid the day you finally saw the cold truth. Some people deserve your calculated distance far more than your desperate devotion. Now, I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. My kindness has limits. Number 2, turn pain into power. Pain is the most honest teacher you'll ever encounter because it never flatters or lies. It doesn't care about your comforting excuses. It exposes every weakness, strips away every illusion, burns everything fragile inside you until only the unbreakable core remains. The real difference between those who stay broken and those who become powerful isn't the intensity of pain they endured, it's what they chose to do with it. Weak individuals drown endlessly in pain because they keep searching for some mythical fairness. They still believe the world somehow owes them healing or justice. But ruthless men know the unfiltered truth. Pain is pure currency. You either invest it wisely to build unbreakable strength or waste it completely through endless complaining. The ones who rise from total destruction aren't simply lucky, they're ruthlessly strategic. They stare directly at betrayal, heartbreak, and crushing failure. And instead of whining, "Why me?" they coldly ask, "What exact lesson about control is this teaching me?" Machiavelli once said, "Never waste the opportunity offered by a good crisis." Every single moment of deep suffering carries a hidden opportunity to evolve into someone completely untouchable. Pain isn't random punishment, it's raw information. It reveals precisely where your vulnerabilities hide. Every betrayal exposes who you trusted far too easily. Every rejection highlights where you wrongly placed your self-worth. Every devastating loss shatters the dangerous illusion of permanence. When you begin viewing pain through this ruthless lens, it stops being a permanent wound and transforms into a deadly weapon. You start deliberately using it to sharpen your mind instead of letting it destroy your spirit. The dark psychology of true transformation lies in coldly transmuting raw suffering into unbreakable strategy. Most people cry endlessly just to feel temporary relief. The strong reflect deeply to become permanently stronger. When they're deeply hurt, they refuse to chase false closure. They create real power instead. They study their enemies coldly in steer. D, of hating them blindly. They analyze their own mistakes ruthlessly instead of escaping them desperately. They convert every heartbreak into iron emotional discipline, every disappointment into laser focus. That's the pure essence of Machiavellian resilience, to weaponize the world's cruelty as fuel rather than wear it as permanent chains. Pain is the ultimate forge where true dominance is born. When life completely breaks you, it's brutally showing you who you really are beneath all the masks. Stop running from that truth. Sit directly in the fire. Feel every burning ounce of it. Because once you survive your own deepest suffering, no external force can ever control you through fear again. The exact moment you stop fearing pain, you become truly unpredictable. And raw unpredictability equals pure power. When others attempt to manipulate you through guilt or rejection, it completely fails because you've already faced far worse and emerged stronger. Machiavelli believed that a truly wise man learns far more from misfortune than from comfort. That's because pain brutally activates real awareness. It forces ruthless evolution. It permanently silences dangerous illusions. You start seeing people exactly as they are, not as you desperately wished them to be. You start choosing cold logic over hot emotion. The more you endure and overcome, the less reactive you become. You begin moving like someone who's already walked through hell and returned unbreakable. That dark energy command. Instinctive respect because it's undeniably dangerous. People feel it the second you enter any room. The heavy aura of someone who has coldly turned every wound into unbreakable wisdom. You no longer carry your scars with shame or weakness. You wear them proudly like impenetrable armor. Your silence becomes weighted with power. Your gaze becomes steady and unflinching. That's the exact moment you know you've permanently crossed over from being shaped by pain to coldly shaping others through it. The next time life delivers brutal hurt, don't curse it blindly. Study it ruthlessly. Ask yourself coldly, what hidden advantage lies buried here? Because every single moment of agony contains a seed of absolute dominance if you're ruthless enough to extract and plant it. Drop this affirmation in the comments. My pain builds power. Number 3. Kill the need to be understood. The desperate hunger to be understood is the deadly trap that keeps potentially powerful minds forever chained to mediocrity. You keep explaining yourself endlessly, desperately hoping people will finally grasp your true intentions, your genuine goodness, your hidden truth. But here's the harsh, unfiltered reality. Most people don't actually care to understand you at all. They only care to quickly categorize you. They don't truly listen to comprehend. They listen only to detect weakness. The more desperately you explain, the more valuable ammunition you hand them to use against you later. In dark psychology, being understood equals being controlled. When people fully know your motives, they know exactly how to manipulate and disarm you. That's precisely why the truly ruthless remain deliberately silent. They force others to guess, to project, to assume, and in that created confusion, they stay completely untouchable. Machiavelli once said, "He who wishes to be obeyed must know how to command, and to command you must never over-explain, because explaining is always a defensive act. It reveals that you still desperately seek external validation. Real power never justifies itself, it simply exists without apology. The most intimidating individuals are exactly those who refuse to explain why they act, feel, or suddenly disappear. Their calculated silence creates unbearable tension. That tension alone creates instinctive respect. The weak constantly beg to be seen clearly. The strong deliberately choose to be misunderstood. You must fully accept that when you finally stop defending yourself, you become gloriously unpredictable, and glorious unpredictability is fear's closest twin. People simply cannot control what they cannot accurately read. That's why rulers, leaders, and master strategists throughout history perfected the deadly art of calculated ambiguity. They always spoke far less than they knew and acted far more than they ever explained. You must learn to operate exactly the same way. Every single time you rush desperately to explain your deepest intentions, you hand over the complete blueprint of your vulnerable emotions. You're literally teaching others precisely how to disarm and defeat you. The dangerous reality about excessive transparency is that it openly invites ruthless dissection, and dissection always kills the sacred magic of true power. Machiavelli wrote, "The wise man does at once what the fool does finally. The wise permanently stop justifying themselves early, while the fool keeps talking endlessly until he's completely exposed and defeated." You owe absolutely no one clarity about your personal choices. You owe no one lengthy explanations for your growing distance, your strategic silence, your rising standards, or your dramatic change. Let them misunderstand you completely. Let them falsely assume you've suddenly become cold, arrogant, or emotionally detached. Every wrong label they desperately slap on you adds another impenetrable layer to your growing armor. The exact moment you stop trying to correct their misconceptions, you permanently regain control. Because true control always lives in deliberate restraint. Silence isn't weakness. It's coldly weaponized composure. It makes others deeply nervous because they can no longer predict your next move. And that deep uncertainty forces them to become cautious. That's raw psychological dominance in action. Think deeply about the most genuinely powerful people you've ever encountered. They weren't loud or demanding, they were calmly composed. Their mere presence commanded immediate attentio. Not because they shouted or explained, but precisely because they didn't need to. Every word they deliberately chose not to say spoke infinitely louder than 1,000 desperate justifications. You must transform into exactly that kind of commanding presence. A living mystery that no one can ever fully unravel. A gathering storm that never announces its arrival. When someone deliberately tries to provoke you, let your calculated silence completely suffocate their fragile ego. When someone dangerously misjudges you, let them drown in their own false assumptions. The cold truth is your ultimate weapon. Never waste it desperately proving your innocence. Those who genuinely need to understand you simply don't deserve to. Those who truly value your presence will never demand lengthy explanations. Power isn't about convincing others desperately. It's about becoming so completely self-assured that their confusion no longer affects you at all. Once you finally kill the need to be understood, you truly begin to understand your own power. I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. My silence speaks power. Number 4. Detach. Don't beg. Begging desperately for attention, love, or even closure is exactly how potentially powerful people become emotional slaves. The more frantically you chase anything that's already walking away, the smaller and weaker you appear in the eyes of those who never truly intended to value you. Detachment isn't coldness or indifference. It's pure control. It's the mastered skill of walking away from absolutely anything that threatens your hard-earned self-respect, no matter how intensely you once desired it. Most people dangerously mistake attachment for genuine loyalty, but they are complete opposites. Loyalty represents strength. Attachment represents dependence. The world has brutally conditioned you to believe that fighting desperately for people proves how deeply you care. But in raw, dark psychology, the one who chases always loses power permanently. The simple act of begging, whether for time, affection, or basic attention, broadcasts unmistakable weakness, and weakness always invites cold exploitation. Machiavelli once wrote, "The one who is not master of himself cannot be master of others." When your unchecked emotions completely rule you, you become painfully easy to control. The truly ruthless detach, not because they completely lack emotion, but because they absolutely refuse to be owned or controlled by it. When someone deliberately pulls away, they don't argue or desperately explain, they coldly observe. When someone clearly disrespects them, they don't plead or chase, they simply vanish. Silence becomes their sharpest sword, and complete absence becomes their clearest message. In a world entirely built on sophisticated emotional manipulation, True detachment represents the ultimate rebellion. It absolutely terrifies manipulators because it instantly kills their primary power source, your desperate reaction. Once you completely stop reacting, you become gloriously unreadable. And when you're unreadable, you become instinctively feared. The secret weapon of the truly powerful isn't explosive rage, it's calculated indifference. Indifference burns far colder than hate and lasts infinitely longer than love. When people can no longer accurately predict how you'll respond, they completely lose their grip over your mind. That's the precise moment your energy begins to dramatically shift. You stop being the desperate one who waits endlessly and start becoming the decisive one who coldly chooses. The ones who once casually ignored you suddenly start noticing your growing silence, because silence from someone who was once highly reactive is louder than any dramatic confrontation. Detachment grants you a strange but undeniable authority, the authority to walk away from complete chaos with your inner peace completely intact. Machiavelli believed that absolute control over one's emotions formed the unbreakable foundation of every successful ruler, because those who cannot detach are eternally doomed to be controlled by those who can. He said men are driven by two principal impulses, either by love or by fear. If you can completely master your attachment, you will control both. The ruthless fully understand that not everyone truly deserves deep access, not every emotion deserves full expression, and not every relationship deserves desperate revival. You must learn to coldly withdraw your pressio, us energy, without dramatic announcement, to quietly close doors permanently, and to make your calculated distance feel like severe punishment. That's psychological warfare in its most elegant and devastating form. The more completely you detach, the more raw power you permanently reclaim. You begin to deeply realize that true peace is never found in desperate connection. It's found exclusively in absolute control. True strength manifests when you can love someone deeply, yet walk away instantly the moment they threaten your self-respect. Detachment doesn't mean you completely stop caring. It means you finally care correctly about yourself first. Because when you permanently stop begging, you stop bleeding emotionally. And when you stop bleeding, no one can ever feed on your pain again. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I choose peace over people. Number 5. Boundaries are your armor. Boundaries are the invisible yet impenetrable walls that separate raw power from complete chaos. Without them, your entire life becomes an open battlefield where anyone can casually enter, take whatever they desire, and leave you emotionally empty. You've been dangerously taught to believe that saying no is selfish, that setting firm limits somehow makes you unkind or unreasonable, but in cold truth, the complete absence of boundaries is nothing less than self-betrayal. Every single time you tolerate clear disrespect, every time you forgive without real consequence, every time you allow plel to cross lines just to maintain fake peace, you surrender irreplaceable pieces of your soul. Weak individuals dangerously confuse endless tolerance with genuine strength. The ruthless know far better. They deeply understand that a heart completely without armor is nothing more than an easy target. Machiavelli once wrote, "A prince who is not wise himself cannot be well advised." What he truly meant was brutally simple. If you cannot properly guard yourself, absolutely no one else ever will. The world never honors complete openness. It coldly exploits it. The same people who smile warmly at your kindness today will ruthlessly use your endless forgiveness tomorrow. That's the unchanging nature of unchecked human desire. People will always aggressively test whatever limits you refuse to firmly enforce. Boundaries aren't cruel walls designed to keep others out permanently. They are selective gates that fiercely protect everything sacred inside you. They aren't cruelty, they are crystal clarity, and that clarity absolutely terrifies manipulators because it instantly removes every ounce of their leverage. In dark psychology, boundaries function as devastating weapons of complete control. The person who consistently enforces them coldly dictates the exact terms of every single relationship. When you calmly say no without guilt or apology, you directly communicate dominance. When you permanently cut off access after clear betrayal, you loudly announce that your worth is completal. Were non-negotiable. The truly powerful never argue endlessly about respect. They demonstrate it coldly through calculated distance. Forgiveness completely without consequences is pure submission. Mercy entirely without structure openly invites chaos. The exact moment you stop rewarding terrible behavior with your continued presence, you begin to command complete silence from those who once casually disrespected you. The fearful will desperately call it arrogance. The weak will bitterly label it ego, but the wise will immediately recognize it as pure self-command. Machiavelli also said, "He who allows himself to be deceived is deserving of deception." You directly teach people exactly how to treat you by precisely what you consistently tolerate. The moment you begin protecting your personal space like an impenetrable fortress, the parasites immediately vanish, the constant noise finally fades, and your hard-earned peace dramatically returns. That's when you clearly see who actually values you for real, those who deeply respect your firm rules instead of bitterly resenting them. Boundaries powerfully attract genuine quality and ruthlessly repel corruption. They perfectly filter the truly loyal from the opportunistic, the authentically genuine from the coldly manipulative. They make your valuable presence feel hard-earned, not cheaply available. To live completely without boundaries is to live entirely without dignity. To live with them firmly is to command your entire world with quiet, unbreakable authority. The ruthless deeply know that kindness completely without defense openly invites destruction. So they deliberately build walls not out of fear but out of cold wisdom. Because the ultimate goal isn't desperate likability, it's earned respect. Remember this forever. Every single boundary you firmly set is a powerful declaration. This is exactly where my peace begins, and those who truly value you will never dare ask you to lower your armor. They'll stand respectfully outside it with genuine honor. Now, I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. My boundaries protect me. Number 6. Master the art of silence. Silence is the ultimate weapon the truly powerful deploy when words completely lose their value. Most people deeply fear silence because it brutally exposes their complete lack of control. They talk endlessly to fill empty air, to desperately prove confidence, to seek constant validation through noise. But every single unnecessary word you speak becomes potential ammunition for someone else's cold manipulation. The wise fully understand that in a world hopelessly addicted to constant talking, silence equals pure dominance. Machiavelli once wrote, "Never reveal all your thoughts, for it makes you predictable and vulnerable." The exact moment people can accurately read your emotions, they can coldly calculate your reactions, and the one who can perfectly predict you can completely control you. Silence deliberately makes you gloriously you. Readable. It creates an atmosphere of deep mystery that forces others to constantly second-guess themselves. The quiet individual in any room always holds far more real power than the one loudly shouting for desperate attention. In dark psychology, silence isn't mere emptiness, it's pure strategy. It dramatically shifts complete balance of control without any confrontation. When you deliberately say nothing, you coldly let others reveal absolutely everything. They expose their deepest insecurities, hidden motives, and glaring weaknesses while frantically trying to understand your silence. The ruthless coldly use this to their maximum advantage. They listen far more than they ever speak, observe far more than they explain, and act far more than they promise. The weak desperately rush to prove their points. The strong patiently wait for the perfect moment to strike decisively. Every calculated pause you hold in conversation dramatically increases your authority. Every time you coldly let others frantically fill silence, they unknowingly surrender priceless information. Machiavelli believed that true power always thrives in careful perception. The less people accurately know about your hidden intentions, the more deeply they fear them. Silence deliberately creates intense psychological tension. It forces others to project their own fears directly onto you. They start desperately wondering what you're really thinking, what you might coldly do next. And that deep uncertainty grants you invisible yet complete control. This is why silence isn't absence, it's magnified presence. You don't need to shout desperately to be heard. Your deliberate restraint speaks infinitely louder than chaos. The loudest person in any room rarely holds real power. They desperately crave it, but the silent one already possesses it completely. The greatest rulers throughout history deeply understood this brutal truth. The less you deliberately reveal, the more others desperately imagine. The more they imagine, the more they instinctively obey. You must learn to coldly weaponize your calm, to use silence as your primary language. When someone deliberately insults you, stay completely silent and coldly watch them unravel in their own growing guilt. When someone desperately provokes you, give absolutely no reaction and let their desperation brutally expose them. Your calculated silence will echo infinitely louder than any heated argument. People desperately expect noise. They deeply fear stillness. In complete stillness lies absolute control. Machiavelli said, "The wise man does at once what the fool does finally." The fool desperately defends himself with endless words. The wise coldly guard himself with deliberate quiet. The exact moment you stop desperately explaining, you dramatically shift from emotional defense to pure strategic offense. You stop playing desperate defense and start coldly commanding the entire game. Power never begs to be understood. It coldly demands to be deeply felt. Silence deliberately makes you gloriously unpredictable. And glorious unpredictability brutally breeds respect. When you finally learn to hold your tongue completely, you learn to hold your power absolutely. And in a world where everyone desperately wants to be heard, the one who masters silence becomes completely impossible to defeat. Drop this affirmation in the comments. My silence controls chaos. Number 7. Never show full loyalty. Loyalty is a devastating weapon only when it's deliberately selective. The moment you give it blindly and completely, it instantly becomes your permanent cage. Machiavelli brutally warned that men are ungrateful, fickle, and deceitful. So to desperately expect pure loyalty in return is to openly invite betrayal. True power belongs exclusively to those who coldly know when to align strategically and when to withdraw completely. The world is never moved by blind goodness. It is moved exclusively by cold strategy. When you show absolute loyalty to anyone, a friend, a mentor, or a leader, you completely surrender your precious independence. They begin to coldly view your devotion as weakness, not genuine virtue. The blindly loyal become painfully predictable, and painful predictability equals certain death in the brutal game of power. Dark psychology brutally teaches that loyalty must always be a coldly calculated act, never a purely emotional one. True Machiavellian loyalty remains strictly conditional. It directly serves your personal growth, your iron protection, your unstoppable rise. The moment it stops serving those, it must be immediately re-evaluated without sentiment. Most people tragically remain loyal purely out of fear. Fear of painful solitude, fear of being labeled untrustworthy, fear of losing desperate approval. But these are exactly the same people who ultimately end up coldly discarded, brutally betrayed, or casually replaced the moment they cease being useful. The truly powerful never desperately attach themselves to any person. They coldly attach to the strategic opportunity. They deeply know alliances shift constantly like ocean tides. They never resist it emotionally. They coldly ride it strategically. Your loyalty should always be a carefully worn mask, never your core identity. You wear it deliberately when it directly benefits you, and you remove it instantly when it becomes a dangerous liability. This isn't cruelty, it's cold realism. The world coldly rewards those who think strategically, not those who feel desperately. Machiavelli wrote, "A wise man ought never to make himself depend wholly on one thing or one person. Dependence brutally kills autonomy, and autonomy is the unbreakable root of true dominance. Never desperately reveal where your true allegiance actually lies. Let people comfortably believe you're completely on their side, but remain absolutely free and sovereign internally. The carefully crafted illusion of loyalty is infinitely more powerful than loyalty itself. It keeps others dangerously comfortable while keeping you completely untouchable. In politics, business, and personal life, this is precisely how lasting empires are coldly built. Kings tragically fall because they trust far too deeply. Subordinates are ruthlessly eliminated because they serve far too faithfully. Friends coldly turn into enemies because they desperately expect equality where cold hierarchy rules. When you are dangerously too loyal, people completely stop respecting you. They begin aggressively testing your boundaries. They coldly exploit your devotion, and they completely stop fearing your potential withdrawal. Fear alone maintains order. When people deeply know you can walk away instantly without hesitation, they treat your loyalty as a rare privilege, not a permanent guarantee. That's exactly how you coldly command respect. You must learn to give loyalty like a razor-sharp sword, deliberate, precise, and only when it cuts directly in your favor. Never give it like a desperate gift. Gifts are quickly forgotten, but weapons are permanently remembered. This ruthless mindset makes you gloriously unpredictable, which is the ultimate psychological advantage. They simply cannot manipulate someone they cannot accurately define. And that's the pure essence of Machiavellian power, to remain a complete mystery in plain sight, loyal in careful appearance, but absolutely sovereign in cold reality. The modern world will desperately call this cold or completely heartless. But those are merely the bitter words of the eternally powerless, the same ones who worship those who coldly betrayed them. Remember this brutal truth forever. Loyalty completely without strategy is pure self-betrayal. You owe absolutely nothing to anyone who would not bleed coldly for your survival. Your allegiance must always belong exclusively to your purpose, not to the fleeting people who merely come and go along the ruthless way. Number 8. Become untouchable. Becoming truly untouchable represents the ultimate evolution of raw power. It is the sacred point where no insult, no betrayal, no manipulation can ever pierce your carefully forged armor. This exalted state isn't about cruelty or empty arrogance. It's about complete sovereignty over your own mind and soul. The world will always aggressively throw chaos directly at you. People will constantly test your hard-earned patience, and circumstances will never politely bend to your deepest desires. The weak completely break, the fearful desperately react, and the unprepared inevitably crumble, but the untouchable. They move like dark shadows across the battlefield, completely unaffected, eternally unshaken, absolutely unowned. Machiavelli once wrote, "He who is wise will be master of himself, for he who is mastered by others is never free." True freedom is born exclusively from inner mastery. To become genuinely untouchable, you must completely stop chasing love, approval, and external validation. These are dangerous illusions, deadly traps that keep you eternally tethered to other people's fleeting whims. The world never rewards simple kindness, nor does it truly honor pure virtue. It respects raw power, complete self-possession, and relentless clarity above everything else. When you finally stop relying desperately on others to feed your fragile ego, you begin to permanently reclaim your stolen energy. That reclaimed energy becomes an impenetrable fortress, coldly shielding you from manipulation, deceit, and meaningless distraction. The untouchable deliberately build themselves with ruthless intention. They heavily invest in skills, iron discipline, and cold strategy rather than desperate approval. They cultivate deep patience, commanding presence, and quiet confidence. Their hard-earned reputation is never earned through loud noise, but through consistent action and invisible authority. Dark psychology brutally reveals that people instinctively fear what they cannot control. Once you completely detach from expectation, from desperate reaction, from the childish need to be understood or loved, you become a profound psychological enigma. No one can accurately predict your moves. No one can desperately pull strings on your mind. You've completely removed every possible lever. The untouchable never act out of raw emotion. They act exclusively from cold strategy. Anger is carefully measured. Fear becomes completely irrelevant. And desire is brutally disciplined. Every single reaction is deeply intentional. Every calculated silence carries profound meaning. You become the unmoving axis around which endless chaos spins, completely unmoved by storms that collapse everyone else. Machiavelli said, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." Being feared isn't about creating terror. It's about commanding presence, absolute control, and the deep awareness that crossing you carries real cost. Untouchability is the mastered ability to make people hesitate instinctively before ever testing you. It is the quiet yet devastating declaration that you are no longer available for exploitation. No betrayal, no cutting insult, no sophisticated manipulation can ever unsettle you because you are completely whole within yourself. You are no longer a fragile reflection of others' opinions. You are the complete sum of your own ruthless strategy and unbreakable willpower. To reach this exalted stage, you must permanently shed the final remnants of dependence, the desperate need to justify, the childish need to forgive endlessly, the pathetic need to be recognized. You must coldly rise above attachment, resentment, and desperate longing. The untouchable never flinch because they deeply understand the complete impermanence of external validation. They are eternally anchored to themselves, and that anchor cannot possibly be uprooted by temporary circumstance. When you finally reach this supreme level, power becomes completely effortless. People sense it purely instinct. They either deeply respect it or genuinely fear it, but they can never ignore it. You are no longer a desperate participant in others' manipulations. You are the unbreakable standard by which influence and control are coldly measured. You move through the brutal world untouchable because you have mastered the only thing that ever truly mattered, complete control over yourself. Drop this affirmation in the comments: nothing can break me. The world will relentlessly try to break you. It will brutally test your patience, coldly betray your trust, and harshly punish your kindness. It will brutally show you that fairness is nothing but a dangerous myth, that people are eternally unpredictable, and that the only thing you can ever truly rely on is your own ruthless self. For far too long, you've dangerously allowed others to dictate your inner peace. You've desperately given your precious energy to the completely unworthy, begged desperately for understanding, and let toxic attachment chain you permanently to endless disappointment. But that era ends completely today. You now possess the complete blueprint to become someone absolutely no one can manipulate, no one can exploit, no one can ever touch. You've deeply learned to stop giving everything to the ungrateful. You've coldly turned your deepest pain into unbreakable power. You've permanently killed the desperate need to be understood, detached completely from everything that drains you, and fortified yourself with truly unbreakable boundaries. You've mastered the deadly art of silence, commanded deep respect through calm composure, wielded loyalty with cold strategy, and evolved completely into someone genuinely untouchable. None of this transformation is mere luck. None of it is remotely easy. But every single step you deliberately take in this direction permanently strips the world of its former leverage over you. Machiavelli once said, "The wise man does at once what the fool does finally." Today you are coldly choosing wisdom. You are choosing absolute control. You are choosing disciplined ruthlessness in the most powerful, silent, and strategic sense. This is the supreme version of you that the brutal world cannot bend, cannot manipulate, and cannot ever break. The difficult road ahead will not be simple, and there will be constant challenges. But every future trial now becomes a powerful tool. Every betrayal becomes a valuable lesson. Every obstacle becomes a golden opportunity to demonstrate that you are no longer available for exploitation. The truly untouchable are coldly forged in fire, ruthlessly sharpened by strategy and eternally protected by complete self-mastery. Stand firmly in this brutal truth. Walk through life with crystal clarity and unbreakable composure. Become the person who moves without desperate apology, who commands without loud announcement, who rises without seeking permission. And as you deliberately take this ruthless path, deeply remember the world will definitely. You notice the dramatic difference, but only after you have become completely untouchable. If you found real value in this guide, make sure to smash that like button, share this video with someone who desperately needs to hear it, and subscribe to the channel for more cold strategies that make you stronger, smarter, and absolutely impossible to break. You are no longer the weak version that bends easily. You are the supreme version that coldly rules. Drop this final affirmation in the comments. I am untouchable now.